8 souls, a tale of redemption and courage. Dust choked the air in Fort Griffin, mixing with the sweat of desperate men and the blood of broken spirits. In the center of the trading post, 8 Kiowa women hung upside down from a crude wooden frame, their ankles bound with rough rope, their long black hair brushing the dirt below. If you want to see how one man's choice changes everything, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Dried blood clung to their bronze skin. Their backs bore the cruel signature of the whip, crisscrossing scars that told stories of resistance, punished, and dignity. Stolen. The trader, a fat man with tobacco teeth, walked among them with a stick, tapping their bodies like he was inspecting cattle. Strong teeth. Look at those shoulders, he called out to the jeering crowd. This one can handle heavy labor. That one's got breeding years left in her. The crowd laughed. Some placed bets on which women would survive their first winter in captivity. Cole Brennan stood at the edge of the marketplace, dust coating his worn leather duster, his hat pulled low over eyes that had seen too much. He didn't push forward, didn't bid. He simply watched. Han, old drifter, a nobody, someone easily forgotten. Then one of the women opened her eyes. She didn't beg, didn't cry, didn't lower her gaze in submission. Her dark eyes swept across the crowd with fierce pride and stopped on Cole, just for a single heartbeat, but long enough for him to feel something crack inside his chest. He'd seen that look before, not in a marketplace, not in chains, but on a stormy night 6 years ago when he'd been gutshot and left for dead in the Wichita Mountains. He should have died there, bleeding out in a rocky ravine with no one to hear his last words. But someone had found him. Kiowa people who didn't ask his name, who shared their water and medicine, who hid his trail from the men hunting him, who guided him through the darkness and disappeared like ghosts at dawn. Cole had never repaid that debt, never even tried. He'd told himself it was safer that way for them and for him. Now 8 Kiowa women hung upside down before him, and that old debt rose up like a ghost, wrapping around his throat, choking him with shame. The trader scanned the crowd. Any takers? Going cheap today, folks? Cole stepped forward. The dust crunched beneath his worn boots. For one breath, the entire marketplace went quiet. Cole stood before the wooden frame, close enough to smell old blood and desperation. The trader squinted at him, sizing him up like a gambler about to lose his last dollar. Which one you want to buy, old man? The trader asked, his voice thick with whiskey. Cole didn't answer immediately. He looked at each woman carefully, not to choose, but to remember. Those faces weren't strangers. The way they clenched their jaws against pain, the way their shoulders stayed loose despite the agony, refusing to waste strength on pointless resistance. This was the silence of people who'd learned that screaming only made the whip fall harder. He'd seen that same silence 6 years ago in the mountains, when Kiowa warriors had pulled him into the shadows and treated his wounds without judgment. One woman in particular had watched over him through the night, her eyes filled with concern as if his life truly mattered. By morning, they were going to leaving him alive and leaving behind a debt without a name. Hey! The trader snapped his fingers. You hearing me? You buying or not? Cole turned to face him. All of them. The crowd erupted in laughter. What? You starting a people farm? Someone shouted. Buying company for his lonely old age. Another jeered. The trader sneered. You know the price for all 8, right? That'll clean you out, old man. Cole nodded. He knew exactly what this would cost him. Not just money, but a winter with no supplies, an empty ranch. Living out whatever life he had left with nothing but his bare hands. He opened his leather pouch and laid it on the wooden table. Then a second pouch. Then a third. Silver coins spilled out, clinking one by one, each sound cutting into his future like a knife. The crowd began to quiet down. Watching with a mixture of shock and suspicion, the trader counted slowly, wetting his thumb between each coin. When he finished, he shrugged with mock generosity. Congratulations, old fool. They're yours. Cole stepped forward and cut the ropes himself slowly, carefully. One by one, the women were lowered to the ground. They stumbled, legs numb from hanging, but none of them fell completely. Each caught herself with warrior's pride. No one said thank you. No one bowed their head in gratitude. Only eyes followed his every move, cold, guarded, calculating. As they walked away from the marketplace, Cole heard a hoarse voice behind him. "You bought us." A pause. "For what?" He stopped, but didn't turn around. "Debt," Cole said quietly. "And because, if I walked away today, I wouldn't be a man anymore." No one replied. But he knew from that moment on, there was no turning back. The journey back to Cole's ranch felt longer than usual. He rode ahead on his aging mare, while the 8 Kiowa women sat in the rickety wooden wagon he usually used for hauling supplies. No one spoke. The wagon wheels creaked against the dry ground, groaning like something on the verge of breaking. Cole didn't look back, but he knew they were watching him, not with gratitude, but with the wary calculation of people who'd been sold before, deceived before, trusted the wrong person before. When the ranch finally came into view, a low fence, weathered barn, tired-looking house, no one showed relief. Their alertness simply shifted from one location to another. Cole opened the gate, unhitched his horse, then stepped aside. He gave no orders, didn't point, didn't tell them where to go. "You can choose where to sleep," he said, his voice rough from disuse. "Water's by the well. Food's in the storehouse. No one's going to touch you here." No one moved. Finally, one woman stepped down last. She was shorter than the others, but moved with authority. Her eyes were sharp as broken glass. She looked around the ranch, at the house door, at the fence line, at the tree line in the distance. Then she asked, her voice steady and direct, "How long until you sell us again?" The question dropped like a stone into still water. Cole stood silent for a long moment. "I'm not selling. We've heard that before," the woman said flatly. "Always right before the price goes up." Cole nodded, accepting the truth in her words. "I don't have the money left to wait for a better price." No one laughed, but no one relaxed either. Night fell quickly. The wind slipped through gaps in the wooden walls, carrying the scent of dry earth and distant rain that would never come. The 8 women laid their blankets near the storehouse, doorbacks to the wall, faces turned outward. Beneath those blankets, hands clutched stones, splinters, makeshift blades. Ready. Cole sat alone on the porch steps, his rifle deliberately placed out of reach on the other side of the yard. He listened to every small sound, the shifting of bodies, the short, restrained breaths, the whisper of fabric. He understood. Trust was a luxury they couldn't afford. Sometime deep in the night, a voice rose quietly from the darkness. "If you're the new owner, you won't live in peace." Cole didn't turn around. "I'm not looking for peace." A long silence followed. Then the voice spoke again, slower this time. "Then why did you buy us?" Cole looked out across the pitch-black field. "To pay a debt, and to remind myself which side I'm still on." No one answered, but he knew that from that night on, they weren't free yet. And he wasn't trusted yet. They were simply people bound to the same uncertain path where one wrong step could end in blood for them all. Morning didn't bring peace. Cole was repairing the eastern fence when he heard movement behind him. Turning, he saw 4 women standing several steps away, keeping just enough distance to run if needed. The others stayed farther back, eyes locked on the knife at his belt. The shorter woman with the authoritative presence stepped forward. She didn't lower her head. "You bought us," she said. "Now you need to know why we let you." Cole leaned his hammer against a fence post and wiped his hands on his pants. "I'm not forcing anyone to talk." "If you don't know," she replied, "you'll die with us." She gestured. Another woman stepped forward, younger, face marked by sun and hardship, eyes deep-set with old pain. She knelt and drew 8 short lines in the dust with her finger. 8, she said simply. 8 children. Cole felt something grip his chest. "Ours," said a third woman, her voice breaking. "Taken the same night, after the men in our village were already dead, while the houses were still burning." Another woman turned her face away, voice cracking but refusing tears. "They dragged my son away." He looked back at me. He didn't scream. He called my name. The ranch yard fell into crushing silence. Only the wind moved through the dry grass. They sell children, said the first woman. Sell them deeper inland, a few at each trading post. Every time they change hands, the trail grows colder. Cole swallowed hard. So we let ourselves be taken, she cut in. No resistance. No running. So we'd have a chance to follow the trail. A cold anger ran down Cole's spine, not at them, but at himself. At a world that forced mothers to choose between freedom and their children. We don't need you to save us, the younger woman said. We need someone to guide us, someone who knows the land, someone who dares to go where we need to go. Cole looked at each face. 8 women, 8 wounds, 8 pairs of eyes waiting for an answer he couldn't promise. Do you know who I am? He asked quietly. We know, the older woman said. You're the one who was sheltered, the one who owes a life. Cole turned to face the open field, the place where he'd once thought he'd die alone and forgotten. He knew exactly what they were asking. Not money. Not weapons. But commitment. The kind that couldn't be taken back. If I go with you, he said slowly, there's no turning back. We might not make it home. We lost our way home the day they took our children, she replied. Cole nodded once, a decision settling into his bones like iron. Then we ride. No one cheered. No one thanked him. But from that moment on, the ranch was no longer just a place to hide. It became the starting point of a journey where no heart could afford to break. Cole left the ranch before noon, riding alone toward places he'd sworn never to visit again. He carried his rifle, a canteen, and the names of 2 men he'd once called brothers before. Everything fell apart. The first was at a roadside saloon, where the smell of stale beer clung to everything like a bad memory. Garrett sat with his back to the door, jacket worn thin, shoulders narrower than Cole remembered. When he saw Cole, he didn't stand, just smirked. Figured you were dead, Garrett said. Not yet, Cole replied. But close. Garrett gave a dry chuckle. What mess are you dragging me into now? Cole didn't dance around it. He told him about the 8 women, the 8 children, the trafficking trail that stretched across the territory. No glory talk. Just truth. Garrett stayed silent, his drink untouched. Kiowa women, huh? He said finally. You're out of your damn mind. Maybe. You remember the last time I helped you? Garrett looked up. I pulled you out of the fire, and you left me when the shooting started. Cole nodded. I remember. Then why are you here? Cole laid his hand flat on the table. Because this time, I'm not walking away. Garrett stared at him for a long moment. Then he stood, finishing his drink in one swallow. I'm not promising I'll live, he said, but I'll ride. The second man was harder to find. Ben lived in a torn tent on the edge of a dying mining town. He'd once been the best tracker Cole had ever known and the first to run when blood started spilling. Leave me alone, Ben said when he saw Cole approaching. I'm not getting pulled back into your old business. It's not old business, Cole replied. It's about children. Ben gave a short, bitter laugh. They can't pay me back with my life. But if you walk away, Cole said slowly, you'll live with the shadow of it. Ben turned away. Silence stretched between them. Wind rattled the tent canvas. I'll go, Ben said at last. But I'm warning you if this falls apart. I walk, Cole nodded. Fair enough. When the 3 men returned to the ranch, the 8 women were waiting. No warm welcomes. No grateful smiles. Just steady, measuring looks. Garrett glanced around. This is the team. Part of it, Cole said. One of the women stepped forward, her voice low and firm. We don't need heroes. We need men who won't run. Ben swallowed hard. Garrett said nothing. That night, the 3 men sat away from the firelight. No jokes. No bravado. Just quiet acceptance of what they were about to do. They all understood, by tomorrow, none of them would be nameless drifters anymore. They left before dawn carrying water, ammunition, dried bread, and silence. Cole led the way, reading the land like a map written in his bones. Garrett held the left flank. Ben brought up the rear, eyes constantly scanning the horizon. The 8 Kiowa women moved differently. Not in a straight line, but in patterns that left no clear trail. They stepped on stone, crossed hard grass, shifted direction with the wind. Cole realized he'd started moving to their rhythm without thinking. By noon, they stopped beneath a rocky overhang. No shade worth mentioning, no water, just hot wind and the buzz of flies. One woman knelt, touched the ground, and turned over a small rock. Beneath it was a strip of torn, weathered cloth, hastily buried. "A station," she said quietly. "Children were here." Ben frowned. "How long ago?" "Not long," she answered. "They never keep children in one place too long." By late afternoon, they crossed paths with bounty hunters. No gunfire, just distant firelight, then darkness. Cole signaled everyone down. They waited, barely breathing. Garrett's grip on his rifle turned his knuckles white. Ben's eyes searched for escape routes. The men passed by, never noticing them that night. They reached a transfer post, low tents, scattered wagon tracks. The lingering smell of fear. One woman whispered her child's name, like she was testing if her voice still worked. Ben pulled Cole aside. "We're too many, too slow. If we get spotted, we don't shoot," Cole said. "We go around." Garrett looked at him. "And if the kids are inside?" Cole shook his head. "Not yet. It's not time." Ben squinted, but didn't argue. Just before sunrise on the second day, they saw it, the holding site, no fortress, just a cluster of low wooden buildings, lightly guarded, poorly positioned. The men who built it clearly believed no one would ever dare come. A Kiowa woman stood beside Cole, pointing into the wind. "The smoke smells different," she said. "Children are here." Cole felt his chest tighten. This was the point of no return. "What's the plan?" Garrett whispered. Cole looked at every face, broken people who'd somehow become a team. "Wait for night. Move quiet. Get the kids. If it goes bad," he paused, "everyone runs." Ben swallowed hard. "And if we have to choose?" Cole looked toward the wooden buildings. "Then choose what lets the children live." No one said another word. The darkness grew heavier, and with it, every safe road closed, leaving only one path forward, narrow and sharp as a blade. Night fell without sound, settling over the compound like a burial shroud. Cole crawled low to the ground. His heart beat so slow, he could count each thump in his ears. Garrett was to the left. Ben, behind. The 8 Kiowa women had already disappeared into the darkness, moving like wind itself. The warehouse door was slightly ajar. Cole could make out small, curled shadows inside. Children. No crying. Just shallow breaths, trying to disappear into the night. Everything went according to plan. Until it did, and single quotes, the sharp sound of metal striking stone cracked the silence quick, bright enough to make one guard turn his head. A torch flared. A shout rang out. A rifle cocked. Cole didn't think. He moved before thought was possible, before Ben could curse. Before Garrett could grab his arm, he stepped between the torchlight and the woman bending to lift a child. The gunshot tore through the night. The impact folded Cole to the ground. Cold dirt pressed against his face. Pain didn't come right away, only the sensation of something tearing open inside his chest. He thought of the ravine from years ago, of water given freely, of the silent gaze that kept him alive. That's enough, he thought. The debt ends here. Garrett roared, dragging Cole back into the shadows. Ben returned fire just enough to force the guards to take cover. The 8 women scattered, cradling children, shielding small heads. Slipping through darkness, they knew like muscle memory. Cole opened his eyes once more. The sky spun slowly above him. He saw Garrett face hard. No longer a drifting man with a crooked grin. Saw Ben, hands shaking but still standing his ground. Saw a mother kneel beside him, her palm pressed to his chest, trying to hold on to the breath he had left. "Don't sleep," someone said. Not a command. A plea. Cole wanted to smile, but faded instead. "Take the children," he whispered. "Go, don't come back." Footsteps faded. A door clicked shut somewhere, then silence as Cole slipped into darkness. He didn't know if he was still alive or already gone. He only knew one thing. This time, he hadn't turned away, and if anyone ever asked who he was, he had an answer now, even if it cost him everything. Cole woke to the scent of dry grass and kitchen smoke. Not a field hospital. Not a military tent. His own wooden house, but it sounded different now. Softer, fuller. There were footsteps on the porch, the clink of spoons against bowls, children's laughter short and cautious. As if unsure whether joy was allowed yet, he tried to move. Pain stabbed through his chest. His torso was tightly bandaged with clean cloth. Beside the bed, Garrett sat slouched against the wall, half asleep, his rifle resting at his feet. Through the window, Cole could see Ben outside, repairing the fence back turned inward, like a man learning for the first time how to stay still. A Kiowa woman entered. She placed a bowl of water on the table. No fuss, no long questions. Just a nod. "Good, you're alive," she said simply. Cole's voice came out as a croak. "The children. All of them," she replied. "They're eating." He closed his eyes, a long breath of relief escaping. The days that followed passed slowly. No one spoke of that night in detail. No one claimed glory or blamed anyone for what went wrong. They simply worked. The children collected eggs, learned to name the horses, played careful games in the yard. The women mended fences, planted rows of vegetables, taught the children old songs in quiet voices. Garrett showed a boy how to throw stones far without hurting his hand. Ben built extra beds. Staying in one place for the first time in years, the ranch began to take new shape, not large, but filled with the warm sounds of life. In the mornings, smoke curled up early from the kitchen. At night, a small fire and a circle of people. No one hung, no one sold, no one called by names they didn't choose. One afternoon, Cole stepped onto the porch with a cane, looking out over the field that had once been nothing but empty space for an old man to fade away in. Now, it held small footprints, running out, circling back. The woman with the authoritative voice stood beside him. "We might stay," she said, not asking. "Just stating truth." Cole nodded. "I've got no promises to give." "We don't need promises," she replied. "Just that you don't turn away." Garrett coughed behind them. "I'm staying too." Ben gave a faint smile. "At least until this roof gives out next winter." Night fell. The wind moved across the field, but this time it carried no howl of hunters only. The scent of damp earth and the steady breathing of those who'd chosen to remain. Cole sat among them. No longer a man who owed a life, nor a man who'd saved lives. Just part of this place. And this place had no name. Because some homes don't need one. Living inside them is enough. Epilogue. The lesson we carry, my dear friends. There's something we only learn after enough loss. Life doesn't ask if you're good or bad. It only asks whether you'll turn away or not. Cole didn't save anyone because he wanted to be a hero. He simply stood in a moment where turning away would have made the rest of his life feel empty. Many of us have stood in moments like that. Too, not in a slave market or under gunfire, but in very ordinary moments, when a loved one needed us to speak up, when we saw something wrong but chose silence, when we knew we had responsibility but feared for our safety. We often tell ourselves, "It's not my business." But the truth is, every time we turn away, we pay for it with a piece of who we are, even if no one else sees it. The lesson here isn't to sacrifice everything. It isn't to rush into danger without reason. The lesson is simple. Stand for what's right within your ability when the moment comes. Sometimes that means speaking one honest sentence. Sometimes it means staying instead of leaving. Sometimes it means protecting someone weaker. Even if no one thanks you, my friend, when you see something wrong, don't rush to ask, "What do I get?" Ask instead, "Who will I become if I stay silent?" And when someone places their trust in you, remember, trust is lost far faster than money. When you choose to stay and carry the weight, life may not get easier, but you'll sleep better at night. Not everyone can build a ranch filled with laughter like Cole did, but anyone can build a life they're not ashamed to look back on, and for any person, in the end, that matters more than any other kind of victory. Above all, I truly hope that wherever you are in life, you find happiness and peace. I care about each and every one of you. Please take care of your health. We're not as young as we used to be. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share. Type 3 in the comments if this story moved you. Thank you for being part of our community here at Best Wild West Stories. Until next time, remember, we all have the power to choose courage when it matters most.